Previously, we flew down to the Gobi Altai in southwestern Mongolia, arrived at the mining camp, met the manager Terence and had a quick briefing on the geology. In this episode we're going to explore the site, take a look at how the miners figure out what is ore and what is waste, how they process the ore to win the gold, check out some illegal mining activity.
This is the hole. Bottom.
Gee, that's 20 metres. Yeah.
20 metres.
Do a gold weigh and have a very dodgy 1,000 kilometre drive back to Ulaanbaatar.
Break the friggin'
So this stuff looks like ridge. Quite uniform dip to the south. Quite hard digging too by the sound of that pick. And just looking at the topography, I mean, you're basically right in the side of a ridge. The confusion starts when you look in the valley and it's all the same material visually. Mining always begins with a sample to check for the presence of ore, in this case gold. This whole area is mostly one type of rock, conglomerate, and it's mostly impossible to tell where the gold is using your eyes. So the miners use a variety of sampling methods. Here, trenches have been dug and sampled in narrow channels. The sample is collected and taken here for assaying. The device in the background is a high banker. It's a rapid way of breaking down the samples taken from the trenches. They bag them, bring them here, then place them into the high banker, tip it in and wash it through batch by batch. All the coarse stuff gets washed out and brushed to one side, and the fine stuff and the gold goes through the mesh and then down into the miner's mat sitting underneath the riffles, and it gets captured in there. Once the sample's been completely washed, they then remove the miner's mat and rinse it out into a bucket. The water's decanted off the top of the bucket and the residue's taken into the panning room, where they use a wooden pan, a Russian thing called a lotok, and they pan down the residue to the black sands and hopefully gold. Looks a bit more interesting. And yeah, stuff here. Good. There you go. They capture the heavies, put them in this little envelope, and they count the gold grains and assign them the number and a certain size, don't they? Look at that, yeah, there's a few specks in there, possibly visible in the camera. Okay, so here's the results from the day's panning. Any goodies?
A little bit of activity up the top. Again here, I'd have to go and check where those numbers are, because they're getting small amounts, not worth looking at small amounts. If you go back a page, I've got an area here that's certainly worth having a good look at.
It's good to see them sitting together in clusters like that.
Yeah. Small activity, another interesting spot in there.
Very good, yeah, they are clustering well. That's a positive sign. Trenching and sampling will get you down about 15 to 20 feet with the excavator. If you need to sample deeper than that, then you need to drill. This rather spooky looking thing is a Soviet UKS or UKS rig. It's slow, ultra low tech, but remains one of the most accurate drill sampling methods, and it can get down 70 feet or more. By banging a 12-inch or larger steel casing into the ground before bailing out the sample, wall rock contamination is prevented and a large representative sample is obtained. So here's an example of the alternative way of exploring. When you're not using the UKS rig, you dig it by hand. There's a shaft that's been hand dug using, what do you think, just a crowbar, shovel, bucket and a winder. It's quite a big one. They went quite big. Yeah, 7 or 8 meters deep, but they've gone big in width. Looks like they might have gone for the 1 metre by 1 metre volumetric type approach. Each cubic metre of materials laid out in piles, starting at the top of the hole and then in rows sequentially, and the hollows in the tops of the piles are where they've sampled to take the assay result to determine the concentration of gold in each cubic metre as they went down. Or probably, given that there's a good, what do you reckon, 30 piles here and it's only 8 metres deep, they probably sampled every, I don't know, 200 or so. This is the valley. 9 metres probably didn't even touch the bottom of the valley. So far we've looked at sampling methods that take a few kilograms to a few tens of kilograms and then get washed by hand. Because gold is very nuggety, larger samples give you an even better indication of whether the ground is economic to mine or not. Entire trenches can be collected and processed through a test plant. This one is a 10 tonne per hour trommel. We'll look at these more closely shortly. It's a thin basalt cap from an old lava flow just sitting on top of the valley fill. The valley fill's probably hosting the gold. Quite a bit of the mining licence is covered by basalt, which obscures the gold-bearing conglomerates underneath. I discussed this with Terence and he took me to an area someone had drilled under the basalt and found gold.
Well, we've drilled a company has drilled the hole, possibly us.
Yeah.
Sampling, and then the ninjas have come along and used our samples.
Yeah.
To tell them where to
do the digging, yeah. It's quite something. The drill samples all laid out, metre by metre. Mongolia's ninja miners, so called because the plastic dishes they carry on their backs resembled ninja turtles, had then moved in. At its height there were 5,000 ninjas working this field illegally. In truth, the government turns a blind eye to it, as it is a form of social welfare for the herders when harsh winters strike.
I suggest it's about 9 metres deep.
Wow.
And go straight there. They have winders, I can show you one of the winders with them.
Yeah.
And what they do is they have a man at the top.
Yeah.
Winds him down.
Yeah.
Material in a bucket, winds it up. You've got a dry blower set up, separates the big stones from the dust, and the dust is where the gold is normally. Maximum they can get with a dry blower is 80% return, so there's still 20% of whatever was there is in this, and we haven't tested them yet.
And over here are the drill holes, which the ninjas have used for their scout drilling. Pretty resourceful. I mean, here's a ninja shaft, maybe 9 metres.
Yeah. Right.
However deep they had to go.
Well, let's drop a rock.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a bit shallower that one.
Bit 7. Yeah.
7.
Ratchet.
Uh-huh. Oh yes. So your life is dependent on that ratchet, right?
Yeah. And if you weld, the old mate that welded it isn't.
I hope he did some good welds.
Yes. So somebody would be hanging maybe 9 to 10 metres below on a rope.
Yes.
Going up and down at the start and the end of their shift, and then the circle would be coming up, or the pay dirt would be coming up to be dry blown at the surface.
Yes, yes. Terence took me over to one of the Ninja's head frames he had found, and the more he looked at it, the more he started recognising what pieces from his camp it had been made from. A tribute to the ingenuity of the local people. This is a roller off of a conveyor from the scrap dump. This is actually a bed, steel bed frame, which has been adapted into the stand. This is some steel that's been lifted off of a Chinese truck.
Yeah.
Still operating, Terence? Or
No, it was in the trash.
It was in the trash, was it?
This looks like some sort of there's a bearing in there of some description. Yeah.
You recognise that bolt, mate? Is that out of you?
Not yet, but I may.
So we're in a mined out valley. The mining company's left here, right?
Yeah.
And now the ninjas have come in and they said, no, hang on, there might be some more here. So they started digging at the walls of the valley and they sunk a shaft.
So you've got a winder that sits there, one guy winds the other guy in the dirt up and down.
One guy's winding.
And then he dumps it out, but this is the hole. Bottom.
Gee, that's 20 metres. Yeah.
20 metres.
Oh, and look at it, I mean, all this grey material is carrying gold, right?
Yep.
And in these bands within it. And it's just so extensive, it goes on for kilometres, tens of kilometres. You can see a row of ninja holes here, each one assigned by a committee to each family. The openings at the top would have sat on an old pit floor, just as we were standing on in the previous shot. Then sunk shafts straight down to the tunnels you can see just exposed above the new pit floor. This was the horizon they were exploiting. Since then, the mining company has returned and exposed the ninja shafts from top to bottom. So this is the business end of things. These are called trommels and they separate the gold from the rock. When they're operating, a excavator sits up there and loads into the hopper, and the material goes down through this drum here with perforations in it. It's rotating with water flowing through. All the big stuff, all the oversize gets flushed out the end and removed, and the fine material falls through into these chutes here and then into the sluice, and all the time the water's washing everything down. This is the sluice. The mats that we saw in the high banker, well, they're on a much larger scale and sitting in here in the sluices with the riffles sitting on the top, and the water and all the fine material, as it washes through, all the light stuff rises to the top and gets flushed away, and the heavy stuff like the heavy metals including the gold washes down and gets captured in the miner's mat. Wash.
Each wash.
Terence then took me over to the gold room. There was about 5 days production to weigh before we left site for the long drive back to Ulaanbaatar. Do you know the fineness? By how much silver there is in this? Doesn't look like much.
No, it's about 2%. I'm just taking photos of nuggets. Close-up photos.
This is the town of Bega, the nearest town to the mine. Looks like more than a one-horse town.
think we've got three.
3-horse turn and a motorbike. Well, the trip to Ulaanbaathar's turned out to be a bit more of an adventure than planned. We left the camp about 5 in the afternoon, drove through the wee town of Bega, and we've just been following dirt roads this evening under a full moon. It's been rather pleasant, but we've got the Bainhonga River to cross. It's quite high, and Terence thought he had it sussed, but we're bogged. I don't know if you can see the vehicle in the background there, just bright lights, but we're bogged as we were making our exit. Fortunately there are people around with tractors, so Terence has just gone off to arrange one to pull us through. Once we get back underway again, we're going to overnight at Bainhonga and then carry on to Ulaanbaatar. Hey, this is good news. Tractors arrived. That man's wearing a traditional dell. That's what they wear out in the countryside, like a big overcoat. Just make sure that thing doesn't come back and smash the windscreen, mate. Keep your head to one side. I'm going to give it some welly from here. Oh. Don't you snatch it at that, mate. He's going to try and jerk us out. It's not a snatch strap, mate. No, you'll break the friggin'... Oh, yeesh.
Picked that in one, didn't you?
Yeah, mate.
I think we use his cable.
So change of plan, going backwards?
Yeah.
We get any movement then?
No. Yeah, I'll see if I can get up.
I don't like this jerking thing he's got happening. Some of the traffic's getting through. Oh, we're moving. We're moving. We're moving. Wow. That took some force. That took some serious force to get us out of that hole. I bet he's going to miss the big hole that we left behind, though.
Yeah. I bet somebody else ends up in it and he makes money out of it. You wouldn't pick that as being that shallow. Look at it. We could drive through that. I'm not going to.
No, look at that. They just went straight through there. We could make it through there.
Yeah.
We just went a little bit too far to the left, Terence.
Yeah.
What do you got to say for yourself?
Okay.
He's saying drive forward.
Yeah.
Second one. Oh yeah, there's a bit of a hole coming out here. Not too bad. There's a fair bit of ice in this river.
There is.
Sunrise on the road to Ulaanbaatar from Bainhonga. We got into Bainhonga at 2 o'clock in the morning after getting pulled out of the creek. Pretty long drive, 400 kilometres I think, all up from the camp. And then we had, what, 3.5 hours sleep. Nice showers though in the hotel. And back on the road again with a beautiful sunrise. Wow, that's a coal trailer that's come unstuck. There's the other set of wheels over there.
Taking the wheels clean off.
Unreal. It's what's actually happened here. It looks like the wheels fell off.
No,
mate.
he's actually hit the white posts on that side. He's going to sleep.
Yeah.
See the white posts on your side?
It's pretty recent, isn't it? Like last night sort of thing.
Last night?
Yeah.
See the white posts on your side?
Oh dear, yeah. He's hit the concrete. Maybe fish-tailed it and then wiped out the axles and that's it.
Yeah.
She's over. Well, here's your coal if you're after some.
Yeah, well.
Going cheap.
Yeah. Come back and have a barbecue.
We're just passing a monument to all the famous horses that have run and won horse races here. These stamina races, long distance. Something Mongolia is quite famous for. And over Hungai, the AMAG or province that we're in at the moment is famous for these breeding these wonderful horses. A lot of them have come from here, and it's a monument to them. Oh, it's 9 o'clock. We're coming into the town of Hungai, and we're going to get some breakfast. On the motorcycles.
Yeah, the construction hard hats.
Yeah.
You know,
like it's going to help.
If you fell off, I've got a hard hat on. That's it.
It's probably enough to let the police wave you through. Sembano. Chini ne hembe. Chini ne hembe. Chiki. Sano mini near Stewart. Ah. Okay. Let's go in, mate.
Yeah, let's beat.
Let's see what's on the menu. Have you chosen something, Terence?
Yeah, I'm going to have a chicken salad. Stainless, we don't know where we're going to be for lunch or what time it is. So somewhere down the road there is a place.
Egg salad. Sambano. I believe this is a depiction of Genghis Khan and his troops carrying him in his wagon-mounted gur. So when your car looks like this, you go to where? You go to the VIP car wash. What are we doing, mate?
I'm going to get some brake fluid because I think we got some on the line.
Stranger that's frozen. We're in the black market area at Hungai. We're just searching for brake fluid. Black markets are normally a place where you pick up everything for cheap. Everything from doors to plumbing and automobile parts. This is more your typical black market area. It's in one of the back streets. Shipping containers with doors opened up, and most of them aren't open yet, but selling nice warm winter clothes. This is felt.
Black market. If you could just ask this
sheep's
lady
wool, same stuff they make the gur linings out of.
Okay.
And this is sheepskin. Terence just getting some translation done. One of the guys in the camp's talking to the lady, get directions on where we can buy some brake fluid.
Hey.
Where's that? Wow. Did you know it was a red one?
Sort of, kind of.
This is the wonderful thing about Mongolia. There's still places that exist that really care for their work. I mean, this guy's just found our rags that we use to wipe the windows, and he's grabbed the rags out of the vehicle to give them a wash and soak. Great guy. I mean, He tried to charge $4 for that, and Terence insisted he took $8. A lot of pride in their work. It's just wonderful. Nice to see out the windows, Terence.
Yeah.
Got a clear view of the world now. I think you're good now, mate. You can sneak out when you're ready.
This guy wandering all over the road.
Well, patrons, I hope you enjoyed that short video on a trip down to the Gobi Desert. We're about an hour away now from Ulaanbaatar and getting back home to see our loved ones. There will be quite a bit of traffic as we go into UB, so it won't be very entertaining, but I will record some and probably just play this video out to some Mongolian music. Alright everyone, hope you're all well. Until next time, bye bye. Yeah, just pull a righty. Thanks, mate. Great trip.
Mate,
all right.
Remember, we didn't get bogged any more than once.
Yeah. I've forgotten it already.
Oh,
I'm over it.
Okay, well, I haven't.
He said, come to the Gobi, it'll be fun.
It was. Didn't you have fun?
Had a ball, mate.
All right. Cheers, mate.
Hello. Say hi to the patrons.
Hello. What is that video? Welcome home.
Hey, beautiful. All right.